Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thank you very much for watching. Today I'm showing you what I read in May, and there was a tiny bit more than this, as in I'm halfway through another book, but obviously I can't include that because I haven't finished it. So there are 4 books I read in May, which for me I was quite impressed with. So let me crack on with them and show you what they were. The first book I read this month is Harlan Coben's The Woods, and I discovered Harlan Coben kind of by accident in a holiday library type place and borrowed the book there and read it. Not this one, a different one. And then I found this in my bookcase behind me, so my grandma must have bought it. I was like, yeah, I'll read another of his books. I really enjoyed them. This one had me gripped from beginning to end. It follows a story of a group of people who have grown up, but when they were younger this kind of awful murder happened, and it was a multiple murder of children in the woods who were staying at a camp, and it follows the tale of things unfolding. One of the children has grown up to be a police detective, and another one has grown up to become like a psychologist, and these two were very, very closely linked to the murder. And it follows the kind of intricacies about reopening the case because they'd never found the final body. And it's a really, really interesting book. It really delves into the mystery about the murders. It really brings out the personalities of people, and it really leaves you guessing as to who done it. And it gets your heart racing at the end. There's some really, really like page-turning, gripping stuff at the end. So definitely a good read, and I'm going to try reading a few more of his books because I really did enjoy that one. The second book I read is by Haig, and it's called Reasons to Stay Alive. And this kept being recommended to me on Amazon, and I finally gave in and bought it in their 3 for 10 offers, which I really enjoy. It's a memoir. It's Haig's memoir of his experience of depression, and it's an incredible book for anyone who has suffered depression. He kind of hits the nail on the head in so many different ways, and obviously depression is completely subjective. It's different for everybody, but there are aspects of it which anyone who's suffered from depression can kind of pluck out and go, oh yeah, oh yeah. And the way he kind of does these letters to his previous self, just like it's going to be okay, and his previous self is just like, no it's not, it's awful. And it's a very, very deeply moving book, and it's also makes you a bit more, gives you a bit more empathy towards people who suffer from depression. I suffered from depression when I was about 18, and I haven't thankfully since, but it was all consuming at the time. So I totally get that sort of, that feeling, and I understand. And I know I've been guilty of saying, you know, just pull your socks up, you'll be all right. But this book I think is a must read for anyone, whether they suffer from depression or not, be it to get a greater understanding of something they're suffering from, or be it to give greater empathy to people who are suffering from it and to understand it a bit more. It's an incredible book, and I would definitely recommend it. The third book I read is by Sara Barnard, called A Quiet Kind of Thunder. This is about a girl who chooses to be mute. She chooses not to speak to people, and then a boy starts at her school and he is deaf, like actually deaf. And it's just the journey of the two of them. Because she knows sign language, she is kind of paired with him so that she can speak to him. It's their journey about growing up. It's a young adult fiction. It's an incredibly moving book, and it just shows relationships that are different and how they don't want to be reliant on each other because of their, not flaws, but their differences. So it's a very moving book. It's a very emotive book. It really makes you think about society and about how we judge people, about how it would look different to us if there were people just signing in front of us as opposed to talking to us. And it kind of covers how he feels in her world and also how she feels going to his world. So meeting all his deaf friends, and they obviously speak in sign language really fast because that's what they would do. So I guess for us it's like going and sitting in a room full of people who are speaking a different language to us, and it's just trying to keep up with that pace. So she felt a bit out of depth in his world and he feels a bit out of depth in her world, but they have this really happy medium, and it's a really, really lovely book. And it's about kind of teen angst, it's about disobeying parents, it's about all that stuff we've all been through, but with the added difference. I definitely recommend it. It's a really good book. I enjoyed reading it, and it was one that I read very quickly. The final book I read this month is by Liane Moriarty, and it is called What Alice Forgot. This book is brilliant. The concept of it is fantastic. Initially, I think I said in my last month that it was to be read, and I thought it was about dementia because I hadn't read it, and I just thought What Alice Forgot sounded similar. It's basically about a woman who falls over, hits her head really hard, and forgets the last 10 years of her life, which includes all 3 of her children. She forgets she's getting divorced from her husband. She forgets all this stuff, and it's about her having to take a completely different view on life. And it's also about her realising she doesn't particularly like the person that she's become. She's meeting all these people, she's in like all the PTA and all this stuff that she kind of always swore she would never be. And it's just a really great concept for a book. It's a really enjoyable read. It's very fast flowing. She gets memories back kind of here and there, or she tries to put things back. Her kids are pretty understanding that she doesn't actually remember them. And I'm not going to spoil what happens at the end, but it just is a really, really good book, and it has a really good ending too. It was very, very easy to read and just a fun read, and I don't think I've read anything that was kind of quite so light-hearted in a while, but it's light-hearted while still kind of tackling big subjects like divorce or memory loss or growing older or disputes with people. It's a really, really good book, and all of those kind of larger topics are put in really nicely. So another I would definitely recommend. So those are the 4 books that I read this month. Really enjoyed it, and tune in next week I think to watch a to be read of, I decided I can't do it just for 1 month because there's about 8 books in front of me that I'm just about to film this, so there's no way that I'll be able to read all those in 1 month, but tune in to see the things that I have to be read, and I will definitely put it up before I film my next What I Read. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, give us a thumbs up. If you would like to, then please subscribe, and I will see you again soon. Alright, bye!